We continue now at the top of Daf Gimel Amud Aleph in Maseches Yevamos. This is Yevamos Daf 3a. On the previous Amud, the Gemara was addressing the issue of the Mishnah Varayos. Why is it in the order that it is in? And the Gemara says that the reason why Bito, the reason why the person's daughter is listed first, is that comes from a drasha. And so the Gemara now asks, Kulu nami mi drasha asu. Don't all of them come from a drasha? Rashi over here says, Kulu nami le'inyan pitur yibum. In other words, in terms of the fact, or with regards to the fact that these individuals are pater from yibum, that's midrasha asking. That's all learned from a drasha. Me'achos isha, from the case of the sister of the person's wife. So therefore, everything is learned from a drasha. So what do we mean that bito is learned from drasha? So the Gemara says, Nihi granted delinyan yibam asyan midrasha. Granted that with regards to this halacha of being pater from yibam, that they're all a drasha. But ikar isurayu behed yaksib. But the main iser, meaning the fact that this is erva at all, that's actually written ksibu. It's written explicitly in the pasuk. But bito, when it comes to daughter, ikar isura midrasha. The ikar iser, the fact that it's even usr at all, that the fact that it's considered arayas at all to marry one's daughter, that's actually from a drasha. Again, as Rashi will point out, we're talking here about the daughter me'anusaso. We're talking about a situation of a daughter that was born out of a situation of rape. The Amar Rava, because Rava said, Amar li Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi. Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi said to me, Asya heina heina, Asya zima zima. This halacha about bito, again, bito me'anusaso, is learned out from a gezer shava heina heina, and is learned out from a gezer shava of zima zima. We'll take a look at Rashi over here. Ikar isurayhu shasurim mishum erva. The fact that all of these cases are erva, b'chol makom behed yiksibu. That's explicit in the pasuk. Avol bito me'anusasa. But when it comes to his daughter from a situation of anusa, da'ayri bab masnisa, which is the case of the Mishnah, ikar isura midrasha asya. That isur actually comes from a drasha, and Rashi explains the drasha. Asya heina heina li isura asya zima zima lisreifa. The words heina are used to show that it's asur. The words zima, the gezer shava from zima, is used for the punishment of sreifa. Rashi explains something Rashi explained previously. A person's daughter from his wife, and also the daughter of his daughter and the daughter of his son, that's all learned out from a pasuk. Ervas isha ubita lo sagale, vare bito meishto bechlal bas ishto. His daughter from his wife is the same, is included in the daughter of his wife, meaning whether it's his daughter or not, either way it's the daughter of his wife. Aval bito me'anusaso lo mishtama. But you don't learn from this pasuk anything about the daughter from his anusa. Ervas isha v'loshen isha stal yedei kiddushin mashma. It says the word isha, and the word isha is mashma ishus. It's mashma through kiddushin, through a marriage. So that what the Torah is saying is that by the daughter of his daughter and the daughter of his son, and we're talking about me anusaso, the daughter of his son, again from an anusa, ervas bas bincho bas bitcho. So those cases, again, bas bito and bas bino me anusaso, those are learned from the pasuk of ervas bas bincha and bas bitcha. In that pasuk, it doesn't say ishus. So you see, we're not talking about through a marriage. We're talking about through a situation of anusa. Vakati bito lo ksivhacha. Now we still don't have a case of a daughter through an anusa. V'alfinan b'gzeira shava. That's learned out from a gzeira shava. Ksivhacha b'kra da anusa ki ervas chahena. It says by the pasuk of anusa ervas chahena. Uchsiv b'kra achrina di ishas. And there's another pasuk. It's talking about marriage. There it says she'era hena. It uses the word hena. Mahasam bito kavas bito. Just like when it comes to ishas, the daughter is the same as the daughter of the daughter. Afkan bito kavas bito. So too when it comes to anusa, a person's daughter is the same as the daughter of the daughter. And asya zima zima l'sreifa, we use zima zima, that's to tell the punishment of sreifa. Ksivacha bevito meishto zima hi, by his daughter from his wife, it says the word zima. Uchsiv b'sreifa zima hi ba'esh yisrufu, also says that by sreifa, malahalan sreifa, afkan sreifa, just like over there sreifa, so to here. Uvito me'anusaso hayalfinan meheina heina mi bas ishto. We already know bito me'anusaso through heina heina from bas ishto. So that is the chain of the limudim over here. Point being that bito me'anusaso comes from a drasha, therefore it is beloved, and therefore it's listed first. So the Gemara continues, Hashta da'amrit kol milsa da'asim midrasha chavivole. Well, now that you've said that anything that comes from a drasha is beloved to the town of the Mishnah, and that goes first, so listni la'achos isha livasof. So then the last thing in the list should be the sister of the wife, because as we just said, the sister of the wife is the source for everything that's not a drasha. So therefore that should be the last one in the list. Rashi says, listni achos isha livasof, dekulu minay alfinan le'inyan p'tor yibam lekaman. As we said later on, we're going to say that the idea that all of these cases cases are pater from Yibum is learned out from Achos Isha. It's learned out from the case of the sister of his wife. So that should be the last one in the list. So to that the Gemara answers, Aidi da'ari be'isra achvasa. Once the Mishnah is discussing isurim connected with a person, with sisters in general, so Tana Achos Ishto, so therefore we talk about the sister of his wife. It's easier to group it into that category. So the Gemara says, "V'lisni lahai bava levasov." Okay, so put that whole category of sisters at the end. Rashi over here says, "Lahai bava kol isra achvasa lisni levasov." Everything that has to do with sisters, put it last. V'yaktim kaloso la'achoso. Put his daughter-in-law before his sister. Ki'echi detahave achos isha levasov. That way you can get that achos isha is at the end. So the Gemara rather says, "Ella rather." Here's how you understand the list in our Mishnah. Tana kurve nakat. The Tana of our Mishnah just wants to go by who is a closer relation. Rashi over here says, Kurve, Hanoch de Karev, Leitzvei, Naked Beresha, the closer of a relationship, meaning the closer of a blood relationship that the person has with this widow. So those are the ones that are listed first. That's Nakat, that's how the order is decided. Tana bito, uvas beno. So the first things that are listed, his daughter, the daughter of his daughter, the daughter of his son, de krove atzmo, those are blood relatives to him. Rashi says, de krove atzmo ve'in bechulan krovos keilu. There's nothing as considered as much of a relative as somebody who comes from him, his own daughter, his own granddaughter. Va'aydi detana shalosha doros lamata. Now once we've had 3 generations below, meaning we're talking about his daughter and his granddaughter, lamata dide from below him, so tananami shalosha doros lamata dida. So therefore we do 3 generations that are below her. We did below him, now we do below her. Rashi says, lamata dida de ishto, meaning the generations that are below his wife. V'alfa gav dehanach lav misham korva didei, even though that's not because it's related to him, it's because it's related to his wife. Asiran le, it's still forbidden. So therefore, again, we're going to do the 3 generations that are below her. And the Gemara continues, Va'aidi de Tana shlosha doros lamata dida, and then once the Tana has listed 3 generations below her that come from her, so Tana shlosha doros lamala dida, then we list the 3 generations that are above her, as Rashi over here says, lamala dida, meaning chamoso, his mother-in-law. His mother-in-law is a generation above his wife. Lamala didei lo matzi lemisnei. Now Rashi points out, you can't really have generations above him, midi at all, lo asya le yibam, because his mother is never going to come to the situation of yibam, sharei asura lo achiv, because she's already forbidden to marry the brother me'aviv, his brother through his father, mishum eishes aviv. That's a problem of the wife of his father, and so therefore she would never be able to marry the brother, and so therefore that's not even a possible case. And then the Gemara continues, Vitana achoso, then we teach the case of his sister, v'achos imo, and the sister of his mother, de krove atzmo. Again, those are cases that's related to him. Va'aidi da'ari b'ser achvan. Once we're talking about situations of sisters, so tana achos ishto. So therefore, we also teach the sister of his wife. Rashi over here says, V'tani achoso v'achosimo de krove atzmo tfei mikaloso, meaning those cases, sister and sister of his mother, are more related to him than his daughter-in-law. De kaloso lav krovoso he, because his daughter-in-law is not really his relative, his blood relative. Elamikoach kidushe beno nesra, all of that. The reason why she's usher is through the kiddushin that she has with his son, so that's why the sisters go first. And the Gemara continues, Uvedinu delictum ala kalaso mekame eshesachiv shelohaya ba'olamo. Really, we should have put the case of Kalaso, his daughter-in-law, before the case of the wife of his brother, that the brothers were not alive at the same time. Delomisham korvahu de asira, because that's not a case of Isser that's related to being a relative. Ela aidi de airi b'Isser achva, but since we're talking about forbidden relationships that have to do with brothers and sisters, so Tana Eishes Achiv Shalohaya Ba'olamo. So first we have the case of the wife of his brother that they weren't brothers alive at the same time. V'Hadar Tana Kalaso, and then we have the case of the daughter-in-law. And Rashi over here explains this. Kilomar, what the Gemara means to say is as follows: V'Keivan dekrovin naket v'azal. Since we're doing relatives in order of how closely related, V'Kalaso v'Eishes Achiv Shalohaya Ba'olamo. So you have the case of his daughter-in-law, and you have the case of the wife of his brother. They weren't alive at the same time. V'Eishes Achiv Me'imo. You also have a case of the wife of his brother from his mother's side. Lav mishum kurva didehu da'asirin. Like all of these cases, it's not the reason why there's a forbidden relationship is not because it's a blood relative to him. So which one should have went first? So badinhu delisni kalaso mekame eshesachiv shalohaya ba'olamo. Really, the daughter-in-law case should have went before eshesachiv shalohaya ba'olamo. Or mekame eshesachiv me'imo nami. It also should have went before the case of eshesachiv, the brother from his mother's side. Mishum de kalaso chamira tfei minayu. The reason why that should have went first is because kalaso, because daughter-in-law is the most strict. You should have chosen, once already they're not situations of korva, blood relatives to him, so you should should have done the strictest one first. So Kevin de lo matzi leminkat korvi, because there's no issue here of which one is closer in relationship. And so that's what the Gemara said. Really, that's the order that it should have been in. It should have been that kalaso comes first. But since we're talking about Isser Achva, we're talking about forbidden relationships that have to do with brothers and sisters, so that's why kalaso ends up coming later. And the Gemara continues, Umay irya de Tana potros lisni osros. Gemara now asks another question. Why is it that the Tana of the Mishnah uses a language of potros, that they are potter from yibum in these cases because of the forbidden relationship? Why not say it's usher to do yibum? Because the fact of the matter is, it is in fact usher. As Rashi over here says, My irya de katani potros de mashra peturos hein viboy miyavim. When you say the word potter, it sounds like they're potter from yibum, but if they want to do yibum, they could. Lisni osros de havadai asuros hein, because we know they can't marry once you're potter from yibum, so now it becomes a forbidden relationship. Once there's no obligation for yibum, it goes back, it reverts to the general isser of marrying the wife of your brother. So why doesn't it use the language of osros? And so the Gemara answers, Itana osros. If the Tana of the Mishnah had used the word osros, hava amino asr liyabim, avol michlatz chalza. I might have thought that it's forbidden to do yibum, but I might have thought you are supposed to do chalitza. So Kamash Malon is coming to teach us you don't do chalitza either. So the Gemara says, V'lisni asur lachlotz. And so the Gemara says, okay, so why not also just say it's forbidden to do chalitza? So the Gemara says, no, my Kavid, what exactly would be wrong with doing chalitza? It's not really forbidden to do chalitza. It would be no point to doing it, but why is it forbidden? So the Gemara says, Alam Allah, 1 second, why is it not forbidden? It should be a problem to do chalitza. In Matomer choletz is because if you're going to do chalitza, mesyavemes, people will get confused, and then they'll think you're going to be able to do yibum. As Rashi over here says, Hav amina osros liyibum, I would have thought that it's also to do yibum. V'chalitza l'mashtama mehachashein isr b'chalitza. I would have thought there's no isr in chalitza. V'hav amina michlatz chalzi, I would have thought you do chalitza. Maybe I would think that when you have a situation of a wife, of a brother from the father's side, and they don't have children, maybe you have to do chalitza always. Gemara says, "My Kavid, what are you doing already? It can't be also to do chalitza." The Gemara thinks, you got to use a language of potter. So the Gemara says, why can't you have a language of isser? Havadai shayach. You could say it's also to do chalitza. Maybe it's forbidden to do chalitza because people will get confused and they'll think that you can do yibum also. And so the Gemara answers, since only in the situation where the mitzvah is in effect do we say that the co-wife is aser. V'shelo b'makom mitzvah sharia, and if you were in a situation where it wouldn't be b'makom mitzvah, she would be permitted. Mishum hachi tani potros. That's the actual reason that the Mishnah uses the language of potros. And Rashi explains, kevan dev'makom mitzvahs yibum hu de'asira. Since it's only in a situation where there's yibum that this co-wife is forbidden. We're talking about saras habas, for example. Let's say the co-wife of his daughter. So again, you can't do yibum with your daughter. You also can't do yibum with the co-wife. Like the Mishnah says. Like we said, once you have a situation where there's no yibum, so then automatically these are the wives of his brother, as if the brother had children. There's no yibum. The wives of his brother are a problem. Not only is the daughter a problem, but the co-wife is a problem as well. But shelo b'makom mitzvah sharia. But if you're in a situation where it's not b'makom mitzvah, actually the co-wife might be okay. Rashi gives an example. Let's say you're a case of a stranger who becomes this guy's son-in-law, marries his daughter, and happens to be he has another wife. This person has two wives, so it's his son-in-law who has another wife. V'meis, and then he dies. Muteris ishto l'chamav. So his other wife is actually permitted to marry the father-in-law. Kedetanan l'kamon. It's going to be taught in the Mishnah later on. It's later on in the Mishnah. So therefore, since you have a distinction, mishum hachi tana potros, for that reason, the Mishnah chooses the language of potter. The itana osros, because if it said it's forbidden, mashma, so then it would imply shahabas osarta olav likach, that it's actually the daughter that creates the forbidden nature of the co-wife. So then, if you have a situation of a co-wife to his daughter, not b'makom mitzvah, the daughter certainly would create an isser for the co-wife. But that's not actually true. It's not the daughter that's creating the isser. When you use the language of potter, so then it's clear that the isser to the co-wife is not because she's a co-wife of the daughter. Actually, the mechanism is that the daughter daughter takes away the opportunity or the chiyuv of yibum, v'isura shachav ala memela, and then the forbidden nature, the isser, comes on by itself, because again, this is the wife of the person's brother. To have a be'isser eshes ach sheyesh labanim, it's the same isser of the wife of the brother as if the brother had kids. Umisham eshes achu de mitzar, and therefore it's because of the fact that she's the wife of the brother that it's aser. Shelo b'makom mitzvah deleka isser eshes ach ala sharia. So if there wouldn't be a situation b'makom mitzvah, meaning if you don't have a situation where it's the wife of the person's brother, then it would be permitted. So therefore, what the Gemara is essentially saying is, the reason why the Mishnah uses the language of potros is because really that's what's going on. The fact that it is the tsaras habas, there's a petur from yibum. The fact that there's a bas involved, that his daughter is involved, makes there be no yibum. Once there's no yibum, now you have another isser that comes along, that's eshesach, the fact that it's the wife of the brother. That way we understand that it's not the daughter that's creating the isser, it's the daughter that is removing the yibum, and then the isser comes memela. So if you'd have another case, as Rashi pointed out, if you'd have another case of tsaras habas, which does not involve situation of a brother and yibum, so then that tzara, that co-wife, would be permitted. And the Gemara continues, why does the Mishnah choose to say that the individual is pater from chalitza and from yibum? What do you have to say both for? Just say you're pater from yibum. Obviously you're pater from chalitza also. So the Gemara says not necessarily obvious. If it only said he's pater from yibum, I would think that maybe you should do chalitza, you just don't do yibum. Kamash Malan, so that's what it's coming to teach us. Kala ola yibam ola lechalitza. Anyone who is chayiv to do yibam is chayiv, or able and chayiv to do yibam is able to do chalitza. V'chal she'eno ola yibam. But if it's not something that is fit for yibam, eno ola lechalitza, then for chalitza it is not relevant as well. And Rashi over here says, v'lisni min hayibam lechudei da ikar mitzvah hi. The main mitzvah is yibam. V'chalitza memela mishtam. Of course, we'll understand your pater from chalitza as well. Gemara again answers, havamina michlatz chalza shelo leafkia mitzvah yibam. I would think maybe you do chalitza. That way you're not going to totally uproot the mitzvah of yibam. Aval yivumei lo, but you can't do yibam mishum gzeres hakasav de litzror. That's from the pasuk of litzror. Kamash malan masnisin. So the Mishnah is saying no. Hoelu patra habas mizekas yibam. Once the existence of the daughter removes and makes pater the idea of yibam, peturam and chalitza. The chalitza is also pater. The chalola lezekas yibam, ola lezekas chalitza. If you're ola lezekas yibam, then you're ola for zekas chalitza. V'chal shein ola lezekas yibam, peturam and chalitza. If not, if there's no yibam, there's no chalitza. V'chal echad amrin and choletzes v'lo mesiyavem. Mishum sveikahi. Rashi points out, anytime we do have a halacha, because what do you mean? Anytime there's no yibam, there's no chalitza, it's not true. There are cases where we say choletzes, v'lo mesiyavem, where we say a person should do chalitza and should not do yibam. So Rashi explains those are all because of a doubt. If you have a situation where you're not sure if you should do yibam, so then you don't do yibam and you just do chalitza, that's a suffix that we go, so to speak, l'chumra. And the Gemara continues, v'lisni min hayibam umin hachalitza. But why doesn't the Mishnah say pater from yibam and chalitza, meaning put yibam first? Why is the Mishnah putting chalitza first? Inami min chalitza lechuda. Or why not just say you're pater from chalitza and it's obvious you're pater from yibam? And to that, the Gemara answers, Abba Shol. Here, our Mishnah follows the position of Abba Shol. The Amar mitzvahs chalitza kodemes lemitzvahs yibam. Abba Shol's opinion actually is that the mitzvah of chalitza actually takes precedence to the mitzvah of yibam. It's preferred that you do chalitza. It's only secondary that you do yibam. Rashi over here says, V'nisni yibam bereisha do ikr, because isn't yibam the ikr? Ta'aksivim lo yachbot sa'ish lakachas v'chalatz. V'chalz, it says, if the person, the brother, doesn't want to marry, then you do chalitza. Hoyim chafetz liyavim meyavim. It sounds like if he wants to, yibam is what should come first. Alma mitzvahs yibam bereisha, isn't yibam the primary? The Gemara says no. Abba Shol, there's an opinion of Abba Shol. Perak hacholetz Abba Shol omer hakones yevemto l'shem noi v'l'shamishus ki'ilu pogeya be'erva. Abba Shol says no. If a person marries his yevemto, in other words, a person marries this widow, so that's actually he's doing it because of beauty, because he wants to marry. So that's really not good. It's really like arayas. The karev bein lios havlad mamzer. He says that it's close in my eyes that the child is considered a mamzer. In other words, according to Abba Shol, chalitza is preferred to yibam, and that's why chalitza is listed first in the Mishnah. The Gemara continues, minyana dereisha lemute mai. What is the number in the beginning of the Mishnah? It says there are 15 women. Uminyana de seifa lemute mai. So that number in the reisha, what does it come to exclude? And what is the minyan in the seifa? What does the number in the seifa come to exclude? Rashi over here says, minyana dereisha demashma tesvav v'sulo. Sounds like you're saying 15 and no more, like we're excluding something. And minyana de seifa, it says hare elu potros. It says they are pater, mashma elu v'sulo, meaning only in these cases and no other cases. And we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Gimel Amud Beis.